Okay everyone, I want to talk to you about my 2006 Nissan Titan. I have here the rough country 3-inch lift. I'm going to be doing the ball joints, lower ball joints. The rough country lift comes with a 1-inch rear block. I have some new bump stops here for the additional lift. And then in my case, I won't be using the rough country spacers because I already have the Bilstein 5100s. It'd give you a 1/2 inch of physical lift and then a bit of lift from the spring load. So I have this aluminum 2-inch spacer. I also have the sway bar link that comes with the rough country kit. So you can see that there's only half. That's because I'm halfway done. So I'll show you some things that I did along the way, and hopefully that helps you whether you're doing the ball joint, you're doing this upper control arm, whether you're doing the whole kit. And I also threw in a new CV axle, which is missing. It's in the truck. So let's go take a look at the truck. So here we go, this half of the truck is done. I gotta go work on the other half when I'm done with this video. But what I did was, first off, I loosened these 14mm bolts on the CV axle. Probably don't need to do that if you're not doing the CV axle, but if you have the mileage I do, I'm at 118. You can see the old one looks fine from here, but the boot's getting a little cracked. It's probably done. So I loosened those. You're gonna have to take your brakes off. You're gonna take your rotor off. You have a 32mm center nut here. You're gonna take that off. Take the cotter pin out. This could be an opportunity for you to do your shocks, do your struts, and your springs. I had already done these a couple months ago. These are the Bilstein 5100s with a heavy-duty 4x4 spring. Definitely recommend that. Whether you're using lift blocks or not, you're going to get a 1/2 inch of physical lift from this Bilstein, and then depending on what notch you put your strut at, you get some spring load. So in my case, I did the rough country upper control arms here. You can see these bolts that hold it in are nasty. I ended up breaking a breaker bar trying to get it off before I gave up. Best bet is to just take a Sawzall and zip it right off, and that's much faster and much easier. You can see this rough country arm is bigger, gives you more clearance on the coil bucket, so you don't have coil bucket contact. You can see it full droop. I have a little more clearance than I used to. So when you take your strut out here, you've got 3 14mm bolts up here, and you've got a 19mm nut down the bottom. So put a wrench on that and spin the other side off. That'll loosen your strut. You're probably not going to be able to get it out of there unless you're clever, without taking the your steering linkage here. I actually lost the nut, so this is temporary. What you will see is a cotter pin on there, and I'll have to buy a new one and get that going right. But regardless, in my case, I was also doing the lower ball joint. So down here, there's a bolt. You can see the new one there for the lower ball joint. You know, try to take that off, but that was a miserable experience with how much corrosion mine had. So I recommend spinning the nut off. It'll come loose, and then you'll see this notch back here. Take a metal chisel, not a wood chisel, metal chisel, and jam it up in there and pound on it, and that'll split that metal enough to slide it off of the ball joint. Once it's off the ball joint, you can work on this, try to get it out of there, and that way you also have access to the old lower ball joint. So in my case, I have a press, but getting the old one out was easy. I just pounded on the old lower ball joint with a hammer. You're going to have a C-clip here you'll take off, obviously. Take that off, pound the old one out. Putting the new one in, don't be hammering away on this. you want to buy a press or rent one. I tried to rent one. AutoZone didn't have them anymore. O'Reilly's wasn't very good. I finally just bought one at Harbor Freight. It's probably worth it to have around. Press that baby back in and put the new C-clip on it. Use C-clip pliers, don't use a screwdriver. And mine happens to be the kind that you can grease. That's a Moog product. I'll try to put the links and the part numbers on all these things in the comments. You can see with the rough country lift, I also have new sway bar links. Those were pretty welded in there too. I ended up just cutting the old one out. It's faster and easier. So at the bottom of this, you'll have no upper control arm. You'll have the spindle off on the ground. So, steering linkage will be unattached. Your CV axle will be out. Your spring and strut will be out. And you'll have just the lower control arm sitting there. And that's when you'll build back upward. The order I went was I put the lower ball joint in. Then I put the strut back in. Sway bar. And then I carefully used another jack to lift the spindle upward onto the lower ball joint, but also got my CV axle in it at the same time, because if you attach to the lower ball joint, I found you can't get your CV axle in, so you have to do kind of a combo. Get the CV axle in the spindle as you're lifting it with your lift, and also realizing that your ball joint, if I can find the old one here, there we go, see that notch? Your bolt is going to rest against that notch. So you're going to lift the spindle and try to get it on the ball joint just right, so that notch lines up with the bolt, and that's what's actually going to hold the ball joint onto the spindle. So you can see my debris field here. There's the old CV axle. The boot's okay, but getting there, pretty cracked up here, so it was worth replacing. There's the sway bar link. There's the old control arm. And oh, here's the old bump stop. So if you're going to put a lift of any kind, even if it's just a couple blocks, it's a good idea to get some of these polyurethane bump stops. The added motion, you'll hear it. So you want to put this in here so that your arms aren't swinging too much. And that's kind of how it went on this. So if you're doing any part of this or all of it, that's the order I recommend you do it in. If you have questions, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to help. You look up part numbers or tell you what I did or send you pictures. Either way, let's get this done. Thanks, everyone.